What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video here on the channel. Now, I want to give you a quick update on what Solana's price is doing because it is now taking the correct steps to getting towards a beautiful breakout to the upside, and I want you, of course, to be as prepared as possible. So with that in mind, let's not waste any more time at all, and let's get straight into the video. So looking at Solana here, what we can see is that its price has now broken this downward trend that it had been in. Now, the funniest part is that we were doing buying down here on Solana around $119, $115, or $120, right, throughout this little pull to the downside whenever I was saying, this could end up being some type of double bottom. There's no guarantee, and it's not really a big enough downtrend to be a real double bottom, but that I thought that this was a decent time to be buying. And of course, we were getting so many comments and so many people saying it's going down to $50 and all this stuff. And although that was a possibility, it was funny how sure people were. And now Solana's prices, say off of these lows that we put in, Solana's price is now sitting at a 25% gain. And I'm sure they're still pissed off, but I do find it funny. So I just wanted to kind of make fun of you a little bit. Now, going forward, of course, what we can see is that, yes, it did use this key establishment of support, which was on top of a pretty strong liquidity zone, right? Back here, boom, we had this resistance, and this support. So obviously that is easily flipped into support as it does come back. And Solana is now trying to use this as a support or a foundation to get this move back to the upside. The thing about it is, though, where we are with Solana is that I believe people are jumping the gun just a little bit. They're saying, okay, Solana broke out, and just because it broke out of this descending channel, that means that now it's going to head back up towards $200. And I want people to be incredibly careful about saying things like that or believing things like that, because actually the process, once you break out of a channel like this to getting back up here, is actually quite difficult. Okay, so the whole goal of today's video is to show you the key steps or the milestones that we need to see Solana reach before we can be truly confident that it is about to make a run back towards 250 or 260. Now, before we even talk about it from a technical perspective, one thing I do want to remind you of is that I believe that summertime has a very high risk of being boring, right? June, July, August historically are just very boring months. It doesn't mean that they're red or that they're ugly, right? It could just easily be just barely green or just barely neutral or just barely red. They just typically are not that good, right? And so going into the summertime, I'm being very cautious, even though May historically is a decent month. After this month, I'm being very cautious, and so I'm not just assuming that because a technical points in the upwards direction that it's for sure going in the upward direction. I think you should apply that to all of the cryptos you're looking at. But anyway, so looking at Solana here, as I mentioned before, my goal today is to tell you about the different milestones and steps it needs to take, and the more confident I'll become as it does go. Okay, first things first, I'm not really going to be doing much buying right now. I did buy a little bit of Solana this morning, a tiny amount, just because it broke out of the structure, and I like to buy on breakouts in general, right? It does not mean that it's for sure going to go up. It does not mean that I'm even for sure that confident that it's going straight to $200. It just means that we're finally out of a descending channel and we have a higher likelihood of going upwards, which is the only excuse that I need to buy some Solana, okay? And so because of that, I bought a little bit here, but as you know, the majority of the buying we were doing was towards the bottom side of this channel. I mean, you guys saw it. HGalgo, my company's indicator, started flashing right over here, and people were saying, it's bullshit, haha, look what happened, look, it's down. It pumped off of this, and people were quiet. Then it pulled back under this buy zone, and then they're like, haha, look, your indicator sucks, yada, yada, yada. And now we're back in a situation in which if you bought off when the indicator went off, for example, which was right here, I mean, you're looking already at gains. I mean, let's even go towards the higher side of it. You're already up 9 to 10%. So, of course, guys, don't forget, you can check it out down in the description below. I will give you a 30-day money-back guarantee since it's my indicator and I can do what I want. That means that if you don't like it, you can use it for 29 days. If you decide you don't like it, you get your money back. Or if you do decide you like it, you just continue forward. And I'll give you 20% off because, just because, honestly. Okay, so you can go check out the description down below if you want to use it. But as I mentioned before, we were doing the majority of our buying throughout this channel. And so as we do push forward now and as we do start looking for growth, hopefully I'm not going to be doing too much buying. Now, if we see Solana's price roll, right, if we see this breakout fail and we do start to see a roll, yeah, obviously I'll start doing more continued buying down here. This is about a 25-30% chance of happening. I don't think it's the most likely scenario, but it is a scenario you need to be aware of. But in the scenario we're talking about today is how do we get back to the upside, okay? So there's three major things that I need to see from Solana to be able to get to the major upside, okay? Step number one is that we need to see it break this micro Fibonacci zone that it's actually in right now. So the 618 to 786 zone between this swing high and this swing low sits between $143 and $151. Now, you guys also know that $150 is a strong psychological level that Solana historically has had some movement around. And so because of that, what I'm going to say is that step number one is that Solana needs to break $151. If it's capable of breaking 151, it then opens up the door for it to go to the next step, which of course the next step is, in my opinion, the most important step, which is breaking this range high currently at $161. The only way we can get to 161 is if we break the Fibonacci range at 151. And the reason that breaking 161 is so important is because this thing is still in a downtrend. Okay, Solana is still in a downtrend up until the point in which it sets a new macro higher high. That's just how downtrends work, right? Downtrends are lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. The only time you can break a downtrend is by setting a higher high, and then a higher low, then a higher high, and a higher low, and that's how you flip into an uptrend. And while Solana is still below $161, even if it goes all the way up to $158 and pulls back, it's still in a downtrend. And although the downtrend is different, it's still a downtrend, and I want to see it flip into an uptrend. And so the way that you do this, and the way you get confirmation that this is an actual reversal starting, is by clearing your most recent high, which in this example is 161. So obviously we now know step number one, we break 151. That opens up the door to us clearing 161, which is step number two. Okay, now once we clear that, now we're in a spot in which the likelihood of Solana at least going sideways, or maybe some type of boring consolidationary sideways movement, right? Something like this, or maybe a little bit of an upward trickle or something like that, it becomes much higher. Not guaranteed, but much higher. And the likelihood is that even if its price does pull back, that we will set a higher low and eventually continue to the upside. So those are the first two major steps that must be cleared, because this will open up the door for this to actually be a reversal and not just some sort of fake out that's going to look like this, right? Because this is still possible and still on the table, and this is no guarantee just because we broke out here that we're going to continue upwards. So I want to see us break 161. That opens up the door of a possibility or potential that yes, we will see something maybe more like this, and then continuation. Okay, now I told you there's three steps. Step number three is the big Bertha of all of this. Okay, step number three is Solana's price being able to break its current macro Fibonacci zone. Now, this is going to take a while. This is something that I'm not really even thinking about too much right now, but it is the end goal. The end goal is that Solana takes this swing high all the way down to this swing low. The Fibonacci zone that's created, the 618 to 786 Fib zone between 185 and 168, that's the level we need to see get cleared. Okay, until we clear this level, obviously, there's no going to an all-time high. There's no guaranteeing that we go to an all-time high. And there's sure as hell no guaranteeing that we're going to reach any of these upward levels that we're hoping of, which is like $305 to $248. None of that happens, because you and I both know the Fibonacci zone, the macro Fibonacci zone, the swing high to swing low, especially off of a recent massive macro high, is the strongest point of resistance on a chart. Simple as simple then. Okay. And so knowing that, and knowing that this is the strongest point of resistance, there is still the opportunity that we do all of this. We clear this zone, we set the new macro higher high, but then again, we run into this, and then we have to come back down, set in the higher low, come back up, maybe consolidate, one more pullback, then go, then we break above it, right? This happens all the time on the 4 minutes to 10 minutes to 100 minutes to 12 hours to the weekly charts. It happens all the time. And so knowing that, we can't get too excited. Okay, boom, we set a new higher high. That's great news, but it's not final news. Final news is, oh shit, Solana's price came back up, got rejected, came back down, set the higher low, broke back above it, cleared the 786 level, and now we're moving. Now we're in a spot in which we're looking for $305, $250. This is how you get to the upside, and you need to layer it, right? Being prepared like this and having milestones and having goals is what stops you from getting faked out by these stupid lizard people that control the markets, right? This is how anytime Solana moves, right? Say if it, sorry, I didn't actually mean to do that. Say if it goes all the way back up, boom, here, you don't get FOMO and start freaking out because it's back to 174 and everyone's telling you to buy, but you know realistically it's still not cleared this level and we're not in the clear yet. And then the price pulls back and all those people who FOMO'd in right now get liquidated right here. Then you start buying right here because you were prepared for it, and then boom, then we make the move to the upside. That's how you win. You got to be prepared. You got to be on the lookout for the next 2, 3, 4 moves, because that's how you stay ahead of this market. And that's why we've continuously made so many wins on the channel. So those are the 3 steps that I have. Step number 1, break 151. Step number 2, break 161. Step number 3, clear the macro Fibonacci zone ending at $185. Once those 3 things happen, I am under the belief that the door up to $305 to $250 is open for Solana, and that's exactly what we're aiming for. And so with that in mind, guys, that is going to be about it for today's Solana update. Of course, I hope you guys do enjoy these updates. I try my best to bring them to you every single day, as well as other content, Bitcoin, Render, Caspa, Hedera, Jasmine, all of these other ones. So if you do enjoy the content, guys, please do let me know that by smashing the like button so more people see the video. Leave a comment and let me know your favorite thing about the Solana ecosystem or Solana as a whole. And then, of course, do subscribe to the channel if you are new. But with that in mind, of course, I can't wait to see you all in the next one. Peace out. See ya.